Thus, all details about a single person, travel, call, internet, Twitter, etc., can be seen and analyzed on a single screen with zoom in and zoom out features to view with clarity. In this demonstration, we'll see how Wynyard Data Investigator and Analyzer can be used to investigate and analyze bulk data obtained from call data records. I will be working on a fictitious data. I have a few phone numbers that need to be investigated related to a high-profile murder case. Let's create a case for analyzing all the phone numbers together. Giving the case a name called murder case, let's now enter all the 4 phone numbers of the suspects involved and add them to my case. As I enter each number, I can view the details of the owner of each number. My first suspect's name is Frank, second is Ishay, third is Argel, and the last one is Johans. Now let's analyze these suspects by checking their telecom details. As soon as I click on Telecom, I can see the last locations of all the suspects under Commute Map. I can see with time and date. Zooming in, I can narrow down to the exact location and filter out the number of people for whom I want the details for. It shows me the frequently visited locations of the subjects. These locations are received when the subject gets connected with a tower in a particular area. By clicking on Geo Time and putting in the filter, I can further check the frequency with which a location is visited and number of calls were made from that location. I can check the data for all suspects on a single screen and filter out the number of people according to my requirement. I can now go to Call Link to view the frequency with which suspects call each other. I can clearly see that Frank called Johans 38 times. Let's see the time and duration of each call. As I can see, maximum calls took place on March 30th and were very short in duration. Kingpin tab marks the main person of contact out of all the suspects. Presumably, Frank is the king and maximum calls or information is passed through him to others. So he's the main source of connection between all the suspects. I'm further looking at the common numbers between my 2 suspects. On the right and left side are the suspects that I'm working on, and in the center are the numbers that have been called by my first suspect, say Johans. And then that number further called Ishay. Since the number doesn't match the database, I cannot see any information about it. However, I can see the frequency of dialing. I am now looking at the individual details of the suspects. Argel is my primary suspect. After creating her phone number in the search bar, I click on her name to view her basic information. As soon as I click on the link and then connection entity, I can see Argel on the screen with various options that can be expanded for further analysis. Going with her telecom details first, I can see all of her call connections, to whom she called to or received call from at least once. By filtering, I have removed all the unknown numbers, and that reveals Argel's connection with Frank, Johans, and Ishay, my other 3 suspects. Now let's further check on the Twitter details of Argel. I click on Twitter, top hashtags, and I can see all the hashtags used by her, along with her call connections. It allows me to view the location from where these tweets were done. It might also be important to check if Argel was sponsored by anyone in the USA, or if she has sponsored anyone over there. I'm further looking at the addresses registered on her name, and the pop-up shows me 2 addresses. On checking her internet details, I can view her active sessions, DNS, or URLs that she had checked. Once I click on Travel, I can view her flight details, expand each flight icon further to check details of co-passengers if any.